Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So Eddie Hearn, man, when it comes to boxing and boxing promoters, they have a lot to lose. And there's a whole lot of money to be made as well. But I am telling you, something is brewing and it is starting to come to a head with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and DAZN, okay? But when you look at boxing promoters overall, look at Don King. Don King had a pretty good thing going where he was kind of taking advantage of fighters, right? Now, this isn't my opinion. There's a lot of fighters over the years who've come out and complained about Don King, sued Don King. Don King has went on record and said things like he treated the black fighters, his words, I treated those black fighters so bad that I got them out the ghetto and left them as millionaires. So yeah, I treated them so horrible. So what Don King is insinuating is that I still made you a millionaire. What are you complaining about? And that is just horrible to hear somebody say that. It's like you're starving and somehow someone gives a person $1,000 to give you, right? That's a donation. You give $1,000 to help somebody and they want it to go directly to you. The person gets the money, instead of giving you $1,000, they give you 100. And then you find out that it should have been 1,000, and they say, well, hey, you're no longer hungry anymore. You were able to go and buy yourself something to eat. Like, that is just horrible. Don King has no values. But you look what happened to Don King over a period of time. He just slowly started to fizzle away. I think this with the guy who just lost to Daniel Dubois, I think that was Don King's last hurrah, But him as a promoter, his going out of business sale has been in effect for quite some time. But it has to do with him just abusing fighters' trust, lying, and just manipulating people. That's what hurt him. He did help boxing in a sense, but he just took advantage of fighters, which is foul. Look at Bob Arum. Bob Arum has been around since Don King was around. Bob Arum's business is still thriving. Now, the thing about Bob Arum, right? Bob Arum is a lawyer. Don King was just a street guy, hustler. So he came into boxing as a promoter with his hustling mentality. Bob Arum is an intelligent guy who understands law, understands contracts. So when Bob Arum started getting into promoting, he had an advantage over a lot of these guys. He may not have been able to, he may not have had the look, been able to talk, didn't have the swag to necessarily attract a lot of fighters like Don King was able to at the time. But you just see the race is not for the swift, but for those who can endure. And you just see over time, Bob Arum, he didn't have a whole lot of problems with fighters. There are a lot of fighters saying he could have been paid more, but you don't really hear the stories about Bob Arum necessarily robbing someone, lying, manipulating contracts, stealing from them, okay? Those are things you don't hear. But Bob Arum is a guy, if your market value is $5 million and Bob can get you for $500,000, he will. And he'll make sure that's in the contract. And that's Bob Arum's approach. He's not going to do a contract for $5 million and then come now to give you $5 million and come down and only give you one, and then now the other four he may try to make up an excuse for not giving it to you. So Bob's not stupid, but at the same time, if he can catch you being a bit naive and super trustworthy, Bob will pull one on you, okay? But he's not a dirtbag in the sense of what we're talking about with Don King. So that's why Bob Arum is still going strong. His business is still going strong. And he has a lot of good fighters, okay? You look at this guy in the bottom corner. I think he's the boxing promoter who became a woman now. He's a woman. But, you know, there's not much going on with him. Then you look at Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya started off very strong. He just, for some reason, couldn't keep all of those fighters he had. You look at most of those fighters who are on PBC. Most of them started off with Oscar De La Hoya. The Golden Boy he could have had boxing on lock, but it's just not being as hands-on and not being as straightforward and not taking care of guys the way he could have. You know, and that's the problem with De La Hoya. And I think a lot of people felt like his focus was more on a lot of, you know, Hispanic fighters. And I think that's kind of what the focus is now. But initially, I don't think that's how it started. I just think Oscar De La Hoya just made some bad calls. Okay, and then he had that riff with his business partner. That didn't help. And then these guys go over to PBC. Al Haymon bubbles up, and he just takes everybody. So Oscar De La Hoya is struggling right now. Okay, so Don King went out of business. Bob Arum's still going strong, and if he lives to be 120, he'll continue going strong. Okay, because he has a great team. He's not going to necessarily try to, you know, lie and manipulate you, but he's going to make sure things are very explicit. And if he can get you and lowball you, he's going to do that. And then you can always renegotiate the contract. But if he gets you for 10 fights, when you're going to make, let's say, $5 million over 10 fights, or really you should be making $100 million, you know, he's going to take that other $95 million and keep that. And then renegotiate your contract and then give you something a little more. But that's just business, man. De La Hoya is going. The only thing De La Hoya has that's keeping him in business is Ryan Garcia. Okay, but I'm about to get to that. Then you look at Lou DiBella. Okay, not so sure how Lou DiBella is still able to remain afloat in boxing. He's just like a barnacle. Lou DiBella's always clinging on to some larger promoter and somehow getting a piece of the action. That's what he is. Lou DiBella is just a big, loudmouth barnacle that just clings on to fighters, clings on to promoters, clings on to opportunities. Not for long, just enough to get to satisfy his appetite, put some money in his pocket, then he kind of moves on to the next piling to kind of, you know, cling on. You know, so that's what he is. He's a parasite. And he's looking for the next host to latch on to. That's what Lou DiBella is. Because I have no idea how this guy is always somehow ending up in the mix. He has little small-scale shows that he puts on, but how he got involved with Kambosos and Haney, you know, like, just when you think Lou DiBella is going to go under, he surfaces again with, you know, being involved with boxing and promoting big fights. So I'm not so sure how he's managing to hang on, but I think he's kind of found his niche, and he's just running with that. Because, you know, I think Lou DiBella comes across a lot of talent, but he'll take that talent to bigger promoters, and Lou DiBella gets a check cut to him. So he's almost a scout at the same time. But if he can hold on to somebody and promote him, he'll do it. But he knows that if there's a chance that someone's going to leave him, he'd much rather negotiate the contract so he gets a large settlement and then lets the guy go elsewhere, opposed to just letting the contract run out. He gets nothing and the person leaves him anyway. So Lou DiBella's not stupid. This guy's a Harvard grad as well. And so is Al Haymon. Now, Al Haymon, so Frank, let me get to Frank Warren first. Frank Warren seems to have something good going. They just worked out some deal, Sky Sports, some large contract. They're out there right now giving Eddie Hearn pressure. Frank Warren is out here taking Eddie Hearn's fighters. They're paying those guys more money than what Eddie Hearn can afford to pay him. And I'm going to tell you why, because Eddie Hearn's financial structure is breaking down big time. Okay, so Frank Warren has been in a good position. He's been around boxing for a long time. He's promoted a lot of huge fights, and he seems to be getting stronger and stronger. So when you look at this picture here, right, Don King's out of here. Bob Arum's probably going to be around another 100 years. Al Haymon, he's going nowhere. Eddie Hearn, not so sure what's going on with him. I think he got himself into some trouble taking that $1 billion from DAZN. Oscar De La Hoya, he's barely clinging to life. Frank Warren's going strong. The guy down in the right corner, man, you know, he's out of there, man. Nobody takes him serious. He's a woman now. Lou DiBella, I think a guy like Lou DiBella will always be around because he's found his niche in boxing. He's not trying to be more than what he is. He's definitely not trying to be less either. But he's finding a way to where he's kind of finding the sweet spot just to make good money, stay relevant, but not have to take on the risk like these other guys. So when you look at the end of the day, Bob Arum, Al Haymon, Frank Warren, and Lou DiBella will probably be around a lot longer than, and Eddie Hearn should be, but I'm about to get into that right now. So when you look at Eddie Hearn, the reason why I'm doing this video, right, is because I'm sitting here trying to understand how the hell is Bob Arum still going so strong? Well, I kind of addressed that already in the video. I think Bob Arum has a good team. They have a good eye for talent. They sign people early. They get them into these contracts to where it's inescapable. They pay them decent money, but not the money not really at their market value. But he knows how to keep them there, then renegotiate for their market value. But he's already made so much money on them on the front end. He's already made so much money on them on the front end that renegotiating the contract really doesn't hurt him. Okay, so that makes him look like a good guy. But remember, on the front end, he sucks the eyeballs out. But Bob Arum's going to be around for a while because somehow people trust him. Okay? Now, some fighters have come out and said, hey, man, this guy didn't market me right. He didn't pay me what I should have been paid. And, you know, that's just business, man. If you want to be a worker, then there's going to be a cap on what someone will give you. But when you own your own business, there is no cap. You can make whatever you want. It's all about what you put into it. So that's kind of how it is, the business owner and the employee. And that's just, it is what it is with those situations, right? So Bob Arum takes care of fighters, not as good as he could, but he does, right? Bob Arum isn't going to blow money. He's not going to go into high-risk situations. Eddie Hearn now. Let's talk about Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn went from getting $1 billion, sourcing all this like fourth and third kind of tier talent. And he had serious negotiations going on with like Charlos. He talked to Spence. He talked to the Danny Garcias. He talked to Keith Thurman. Like, he had big time conversations going on with these guys. But these guys just would not leave Al Haymon. They couldn't do it. Eddie Hearn made those guys really handsome offers to bring them over. They didn't do it. He ended up signing, you know, like I said, the Gabriel Rosados, Demetrius Andre. No, he just was in a bad situation. Eddie Hearn helped him out. Tevin Farmer. I mean, the guy Vargas, he just fought and got knocked out by Smith, right? Look at the guys he was signing. He picked up Devin Haney, but Devin Haney was doing his own thing. But Devin Haney and Eddie Hearn came together in their team, and they worked out a great deal for Devin Haney. Made a lot of money with Eddie Hearn, okay? But Eddie Hearn was never, ever able to lock down Earl Spence, lock down Terrence Crawford, lock down a Danny Garcia, lock down a Sean Porter, lock down any of those big names, okay? In any weight division over there. He wasn't able to get them. And so now, those guys he invested in, he wasn't able to make big fights with them. As a result, Eddie Hearn lost on those investments. Okay? Now you guys, and then he went and put all his money into Triple G and Canelo. Now, Triple G and Canelo are not stupid. You're going to give them that kind of money. They're going to go. That's why Tevin Farmer was with Lou DiBella. Lou DiBella told Tevin Farmer, I can't give you that kind of money. If this guy's going to give you that much money, you got to go do it. And Lou DiBella let Tevin Farmer go. Now, of course, Lou DiBella got a check cut to him. And Tevin Farmer went over there, was getting paid real money. And then Tevin Farmer went out, bought himself a Bentley and all kind of shit. Now the wells run dry. So I hope Tevin Farmer invested some of that money because Eddie Hearn doesn't want nothing to do with him no more. Okay? Because Eddie Hearn has lost a lot of money. Now the only person, right? Only fighter Eddie Hearn has is two. It's really one. It's been keeping them afloat. Is Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is the cash cow. And he has Canelo over there now. That's why they're putting so much money into them. And they're putting so much effort into those guys. And they're starting to strip away those, like I said, fourth tier and third tier type fighters. Like they don't want that no more. For those of you who are saying, well, man, what makes you think that? They're doing damn DAZN pay-per-view. There was never supposed to be pay-per-view. There's a reason why they're doing pay-per-view. Because they've lost money. He can say, oh, we're doing that because to compete with like Showtime, compete with Al Haymon, to compete with these other promoters, we need to establish the proper pay-per-view model to make sure that we can pay these guys to just be competitive as far as what we're offering them. But remember when he came out, he was so against pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is dead. DAZN is the way to go. Let me tell you, part of that pay-per-view stuff is for them to recoup some of their money. They've lost a lot of money. Eddie Hearn is now, man, you listen to him. He doesn't want nothing really to do with any fighter unless they are, what he said is I think he said like elite or a huge attraction. They have to be an attraction. That's what he's after now. He is not, his tune has changed big time, man. He does not want to sit there and mess with any more of these fighters who can't really sell out a crowd. Can't really make millions in profit. Now, everything with him now has to be profit. He can't take any more losses. Remember, he came out and he was saying they knew on the front end that they would have to put a lot of money out, probably take a little bit of a loss, but they're looking long term at the type of profits they would make, and they'd be able to recoup what they put out plus more. It didn't happen that way. Leonard Ellaby hit the nail on the head, and Eddie Hearn now is struggling. He's struggling because that $1 billion was mismanaged. That $1 billion was supposed to be used to secure elite talent. He was not able to do that because of this next guy we're going to talk about, Al Haymon. People need to figure out or need to follow his blueprint. What the hell did Al Haymon do to get all these boxers to come over to him, sign with him, stay with him, and not leave him? What in the world was Al Haymon doing, or is he doing? Guys would not leave him. Eddie Hearn was offering some of these guys 3 times the amount of money what they were going to make remaining with Al Haymon. Remember, Al Haymon, he had that Muhammad Ali Act. He violating that, but he came up, he found that gray area and decided to call himself an advisor. But he's the promoter and manager. I don't care what the hell he says. But Al Haymon decided to help these boxers become their own promoters, to guide their own careers. He's just advising them. He's showing them how to do it. That's why a lot of them have their own promotional companies. He's found a way to work a lot of things through them for a lot of tax write-offs, etc., to where they keep a lot more of their money. Plus, he doesn't take money for the manager and promoter. He just takes a flat fee. So any fighter with Al Haymon is going to make more money with him than they will with any of these other promoters. Now, the thing is, when Eddie Hearn was offering a lot of that money to a lot of those fighters over there on Al Haymon's roster, and when he came into the market and just had that checkbook and was looking to source talent, he couldn't pull anyone. Those guys were like, no, they're not leaving Al Haymon. They're loyal, like, turned down a lot of money. Now, to me, I feel like some of them should have went over there to DAZN, made that money and came back. But I understand loyalty too. I understand money's not everything. And that hurt Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn went into a state of panic. He couldn't understand how come, these guys weren't coming, because I'm going to tell you what, because Eddie Hearn, he's driven by money. I like Eddie Hearn, man. But I just think because he's all about money, he's thinking that he can come out there and wave this wallet in front of these other fighters and that they would jump at it. It didn't work. So look at where we are now. Fast forward, it's been a few years now, right? Now they're doing pay-per-view. Now he doesn't want to even promote some of his own guys. He doesn't even want to take the chance and put Dillian Whyte Chisora 3 on the DAZN pay-per-view. He just feels like it's just not enough. It's just not enough money to be made off of those fights. He's looking for huge fights. So the only thing he really has right now is AJ and Canelo. And that's why they're treating him like that. And Triple G, but Triple G is going to probably go off and retire. He is really hoping with this Canelo and Triple G fight, he's hoping that the pay-per-view sales are going to be like at least 1 million or more. With AJ, he's hoping that whatever they're doing with AJ, going to Saudi Arabia is smart. Look, there's a reason why Eddie Hearn does what he's doing. He's going to Saudi Arabia, making all that money over there. He knows that the English fans, most of them can't go over there. He knows that. But he has guaranteed money. You understand? Guaranteed money. So he does 5 fights with AJ in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to say like 10 fights with AJ. Because AJ's going to be making over $100 million a fight. If these Saudis are putting up $200 million or so, and AJ gets $1 million and somebody else gets, I don't know, they're 40, Eddie Hearn walks away with like, I don't know, $60 million or so. He does about 10 more fights with AJ over there. Eddie Hearn is looking really, really good. That's why he's out here, man, moving into new territory and trying to figure out ways where he can expand the Matchroom profile, but also he's trying to find ways where he can just make as much money as possible so he can help to get the DAZN back in the green. I am sure that there were some stipulations in the contract when they afforded him that $1 billion and said, hey, here's a checkbook, go do your thing. Because Eddie Hearn's a good talker. He's a smart guy. He's a good businessman. I just think he didn't anticipate the blowback. He didn't anticipate those failures on the front end and where he is now. It's just been a complete failure, man. It really has. And Leonard Ellaby is right. I don't necessarily like how he talks about, stomping Eddie Hearn out. Like, I just think that's corny. I think Eddie Hearn probably whip his ass, to be honest, because Eddie Hearn can box, if you guys haven't seen that video. And if you watch Eddie Hearn now in these videos when he's talking about Leonard Ellaby, Eddie Hearn, the quills have come out. That hair on the back of his neck is standing up. So you're seeing Eddie Hearn he can be jovial, got a sense of humor, but he got a side to him too where he's not going to let anybody try to intimidate or bully him, and that's one, I like to see that in people. But he's lost money, man. And Ellaby is right. And it's the reason why Eddie Hearn's out there in Saudi Arabia. He doesn't care what anybody says about the human rights and stuff going on and all the conflict out there and the uprising and stuff like that. He doesn't care about that. Eddie Hearn is not trying to get involved in any of that chaos. He's all about boxing, promoting, and whoever's going to write the biggest check to him and to his company, and to make sure that the DAZN is okay. Because like I was saying before I got sidetracked, I'm sure there was a stipulation before they gave him that money that he had a certain time frame to recoup that money. I'm sure they just didn't blindly give him $1 billion and say and it's okay if you lose it all. I'm sure there was some kind of stipulation in there, and that's why you see these different things that are going on now. Fighting in Saudi, the DAZN pay-per-view, scaling back how much talent he has over there, only looking to make guys who are elite fighters, guys who are draws. That's what he wants, guys who are draws. Other than that, he's not messing with you. Conor Ben and Eubank Jr., that's a fight that probably would have never got made. But he needs to make those kind of fights. Everybody's going to get on board for that fight. He needs to make those kind of fights. One, he's going to have to pay them handsomely. Two, the whole of England's going to come out of that. It goes back to Ben and Eubank, the fathers, in the rivalry. So now you see it in the next generation. You've seen it with Muhammad Ali and Frazier's daughter. You've seen it with there was some other boxers whose kids went in there and got busy, man. But you're seeing it, okay? Like Hassan Rahman Jr. and Morrison's child. That's another one. That wasn't a rivalry, but both of their fathers were ex-champions. So it's just really unfortunate. But when the dust settles, right, it's just going to be Al Haymon and Bob Arum standing. Because even with De La Hoya, when he had Canelo, probably 80-90% of the profit that his company was making came from Canelo. I have no doubt about that. Who the hell does De La Hoya have that can bring in the kind of money Canelo's bringing in? Nobody. Virgil Ortiz is cool, but no. Ryan Garcia could get there, but no, he's not there. Okay? What Canelo was doing for Golden Boy, he's the reason why they were staying afloat. And Canelo knew that. So now he goes over to DAZN. He and AJ are the reasons that DAZN is staying afloat. Outside of AJ, outside of Canelo for DAZN, who do they have that they can put on a pay-per-view? Can't put Triple G on there. He's a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but he's on his way out. They don't have anybody. I mean, that are really elite fighters that they could possibly put on pay-per-view. They don't have it. And Lou DiBella, he can't even put him in that conversation. He's just, wherever he can find to latch on to and suck some money out of him, that's what he's doing. Frank Warren, something going on with Sky Sports and some big deal they have over there. So he's about to end up in a position like Eddie Hearn, get a big wallet and start paying all this money to people. Hopefully he's smart about what he's doing. But then you look at Al Haymon and PBC. How many fighters do they have over there that they could possibly put on pay-per-view? They got a lot. They have quite a few. Okay? Even if they don't sell 1 million buys, they're going to sell. And when they factor that into their business, their business model and that pay structure, that 100,000 buys on pay-per-view, the money made from that is more than enough to bridge the gap to make sure they're able to pay these guys at least their minimum guarantees. So the pay-per-view model works, but if people think it's a complete fail if you don't hit 1 million pay-per-view buys, and that's not the case. But for Eddie Hearn, he needs that, and he can't afford to lose Canelo. He can't afford to lose AJ. He cannot, and AJ has to win. You listen to Eddie Hearn, man, he talks a lot about fighters winning now, and Derek Chisora. You can see Chisora talking about more money and AJ money. Eddie Hearn, man, didn't crack a smile. He was extremely serious. He wasn't trying to entertain any talks about money. Whenever they're talking about money now, Eddie Hearn he has zero tolerance for that shit. So I don't wish bad on him. I hope he sorts things out, but I'm just pay attention, people. I'm bringing it to you right now. Watch as time goes by. There's gonna be more coming out about Eddie Hearn, about Matchroom. He in this pay-per-view crap, and fighters over there being disgruntled. There are fighters already coming out. It was one of the Smith brothers, the one who just beat Vargas. He said Eddie Hearn just brushed him to the side. It did him wrong. Dillian White is coming out saying he feel like he's being done wrong because Eddie Hearn doesn't want to, because he's not a draw. He's not the type of draw like AJ. He's looking for AJ type draws. AJ, Canelo. That's why he wants Tank Davis. He keeps talking about Tank. He wants Tank because he knows what he can do with Tank. They'll make Tank an offer like he did with everyone else. Tank, to me, Tank should take it, 3-4 fights, snatch up whatever they're going to give him, and come right back home. That's what he should do. But I understand loyalty too, man, and he's going to do what he wants. But Eddie Hearn, man, that's the situation he's in. And you're going to hear more fighters coming out right now. Eddie Hearn is about to he's making Okoli and Bivol. So Bivol and Zurdo, right? Zurdo supposed to be fighting. Zurdo became the mandatory. That fight was supposed to be happening. Eddie Hearn is focusing on making Bivol and Okoli. Now, Okoli is a guy who had some back and forth. Oh no, Boatsi, I think it was. Boatsi did Eddie Hearn wrong, man. Came out, man, bad talking him, horrible. And Eddie Hearn did nothing but help him. But he's going over there where the money is. You see, these guys, Frank Warren, Sky Sports, they're going where the money is. But Eddie Hearn is now taking a Coley, which he's always tried to help him out. He's taking a Coley. I may be getting a Coley and Boatsi mixed up. But one of those guys, I think it's a Coley's the bigger one. He's supposed to be fighting Bivol now. And Eddie Hearn is trying to stop the traction of Bivol and Zerto because he wants to get his guy a Coley in there to fight Bivol. And if that fight happens, if that fight is competitive, I'm telling you right now, a Coley's going to win that fight. I think it's a Coley. He's the bigger, tall, light heavyweight. I'm telling you right now. Because Eddie Hearn is trying to line things up to get himself back in the green. I'm telling you, man. He's changed his whole approach to boxing. And maybe this is the mentality he's always had. He just was given this, like I said, he's given this $1 billion. And that's why he went about business the way he did. But good for anybody who he can get because they're still going to pay him. But it sucks for a lot of people who signed up for the DAZN. It's still not a bad deal, but he signed up for the DAZN expecting to not have to pay. Well, anyone who wants to see Canelo fight who's currently not on the DAZN. But if you don't want to sign up for the subscription, you can just still pay for the fight itself. But if you have the DAZN, you can watch the fight because I have different ways of watching all the fights. But I do have the DAZN. But I'm telling you, just watch, man. I'm not making this stuff up. These guys are coming out talking about it, man, and I'm seeing it in interviews. I'm hearing Eddie Hearn talk about it. It sucks, but Al Haymon's he's gonna be around for a while. They need to figure out they need to watch what Al Haymon's doing. He's helping these fighters become their own man, their own promoters, they teach them how to be businessmen, and that's why he's teaching them how to fish. That's what's happening. He's teaching them how to fish. Him and Bob Arum are going to be around for a while. Eddie Hearn, I'm not sure. If he just imagine this, right? I know I'm talking a long time, but it's so interesting to me. What happens if AJ decides he doesn't want to be with Eddie Hearn anymore in Matchroom? And if Canelo decides he wants to go back to Al Haymon? What happens to Eddie Hearn if he doesn't have AJ and he doesn't have Canelo? Huh? What happens? You figure AJ must be 80% of the profit they make. Canelo's a good percentage too, although they say some of his numbers haven't looked good. But you figure the two of them combined probably make up 85% of the profit over there at Matchroom. If they lose them, what happens? So they're going to do what they have to keep them happy. He just needs one or two more pay-per-view attractions, and he's golden. But it's not going to be that easy. It's not going to be that easy. He needs to get himself in the green fast. But Bob Arum, he's been doing it for a while. Got it down to a science. He's going to rob people on the front end, renegotiate and pay you decent money, but it's still not at their market value. Al Haymon, as soon as he gets his hands on you, he's treating you with respect. He's there to help you. He's not trying to rob you. That's why no one leaves him. He gives you your market value and more. And he treats you like a human being and teaches you how to fish. That's the difference between Al Haymon and everyone else. Lou DiBella, big mouth barnacle, he gets in where he can fit in. And De La Hoya, he's struggling. When you go from ripping everybody, bad talking everybody, wanting to fight everybody, and just being totally irrational, right? To now wanting to kumbaya and be friends with everyone. Hey, we can all get along. Let's make the best fights. That means De La Hoya is catching it. He's catching his ass. Golden Boy Promotions catching their ass financially because it's only so long they can go without bringing in the kind of money like what Canelo's bringing in. Canelo was bringing in big time money. De La Hoya should have handled that whole situation better. He should have paid that man what that man was worth. He wasn't looking long term. It's greed, man. Greed gets these guys in trouble, man. Money's the root of all evil. It's like Bob Marley said. If you chasing money to make you happy, money's numbers. Numbers go on forever. you'll never be happy, man. You understand? There's no end to that. So, and I believe that. I think, you know, it's good to have money. Money's for convenience and stuff like that. And money can make you happy. People say, oh, money can't make you happy. Bullshit, man. I'll give you $1 million right now. You won't be happy? You see all 32 of your teeth, all the white, all the enamel, tongue hanging out your mouth. Get out of here. Tell me money don't make you happy? Money can make you happy, but that's not what it's all about, because it can make you miserable too, because you can be out here with your own business or working for somebody, making good money, and the commitment is so demanding that you don't see your children. You may not want to see your wife or husband, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. Got a permanent girlfriend, wife on the side, permanent boyfriend, husband on the side. However y'all live your life. But not seeing your kids and being able to be at their events and different things, that's whack, you know? But for Eddie Hearn, anyway, Eddie Hearn's on his, I think Eddie Hearn may be posting a video like Ryan Garcia talking about mental health issues, because he has a lot of stress in his life right now. But I've talked enough. I'm going to leave it alone. Al Haymon is the man. He's going to be around for a while. Bob Arum, I'm not saying he's the man, but he's got this crap figured out. Everyone else, who knows what's going to happen with him. But I like Eddie Hearn, man. I really do. I hope he sorts things out. Lesson learned. Should get his money back. He's not stupid. He's a very intelligent man. And he's going to make sure that he doesn't lose. Like he's too prideful. He's going to find a way to win. He's not like these boxers get in the ring, don't let their hands go, lose their right to complain. Eddie Hearn's not going to be in a position where he loses his right to complain. He's letting his hands go right now and fighting hard to get himself and DAZN back in the green, and he's not going to stop until he gets there. And I hope he does. I really do. But until then, I'm going to be following him and seeing what else he's talking about, and I'll be bringing that to you. Y'all keep cool. I appreciate the support. Shout out to everybody, man. Everybody. Not just veterans, everyone. Because I'm almost at 800 subscribers, man. That's kind of cool. Makes me feel good about what I'm doing, and I just appreciate the audience. It just really means a lot to me. And if you actually hung around to the end of this video, it's almost 40 minutes. Yo, man, post that in the comments below, and I may hit you off with something. Because that is very, it just makes me feel good, man, that somebody actually watched this video for almost 40 minutes. That being said, y'all take care. I'm in the breeze.